My name is Michael Zullo. I am the lead investigator for Sheriff Arpaio's Cold Case Posse. I am a former police detective, former private detective, state of Arizona. Moved to Arizona in 1993, joined the Sheriff's Posse in 2005, and in 2006 the Sheriff asked me to head up a newly formed Cold Case Posse, specifically used for his purpose, and that answered directly to him. When Sheriff Arpaio contacted me, he asked me to come down to his office. He relayed to me that he was petitioned by about 250 citizens asking for help. They believed that their voting rights were going to be infringed, and they suspected that the birth certificate put forth by Barack Obama was in fact fraudulent, and they asked him to investigate it. When the sheriff contacted me and I did come down, he explained that to me. He also explained to me that he wasn't really sure if this was in his venue or jurisdiction to look at. So rather than assign a compensated detective or a group of detectives to go on a fishing expedition, he assigned it to us. We are volunteers. We have a law enforcement or investigative background, plus legal background. We have a number of attorneys that work with us, and we decided to take on the matter. The sheriff made it very clear to me that he wanted an unbiased, non-political investigation, and actually stated to me numerous times that he wanted to clear the president, wanted this issue gone away, and have the country move on. He didn't believe it was good for the country. That's what the mandate. That's how we moved forward. When we started to delve into this, we started to look at the April 27th document, 2011, released by the White House, the long-form birth certificate. In looking at the document right off the cuff, it was an electronic file. We started to play around with it basically ourselves to get familiar with it. And as fate would have it, I actually came across an Alex Jones video demonstrating the way the document would be taken apart in layers.
Rob, let's go ahead and get to this document.
Right. Okay, first thing what we're going to do, here's the article on InfoWars. Obama birth certificate raises as many questions as it answers by Paul Joseph Watson. He's got the birth certificate. You scroll down to the bottom of the article, the whitehouse.gov, Obama's long-form birth certificate, whitehouse.gov. So we're going to click on that. Here's what everybody's been looking at today. Here's the document. We're going to save this into a folder called Obama Birth right here. Nothing in here, and here it says birth certificate long form. Now, if you have a copy of Adobe Illustrator, you open that up. So now we're in Illustrator. You can see up at the top here. We're going to open this really quickly. Here we are in Illustrator, and you can see already that there's little layers, but you can't, it moves everything at one layer, okay? So there, I'm going to go back, put it back here. Now watch this. I'm going to click onto it, right-click to release clipping mask. This is what everybody's been doing. So now everything has been all the layers have been broken apart. So we'll just grab this layer real quick, and we're going to cut.
And this is like in a Photoshop file. You can see what was moved before and what they altered, and you can see that these things were cut in here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So here we are. I'm going to cut this layer. Boom. And now we're going to add it to a different layer on top of that other layer. And now you can see this is a completely different layer, and there's even a missing number on this when you bring this back in.
We went to some graphic design experts, some forensic document examiners, and we asked their opinion of the document. It became apparent to us and apparent to them that the document was layered, but was layered in such a manner that it could only be put together by human logic, not something that could happen by itself in a software type of setting. In other words, a one-button push isn't going to accomplish what happened to that document. So then during our own testing, we took a scan of the president's long-form birth certificate. As a matter of fact, we printed off a copy by turning off the green safety background, which just simply produced a black and white image on a white piece of paper. Perfect. Perfect. We took that image and we photocopied that onto safety paper. We literally made a hard copy document. We took that document, scanned it into a computer, and we got, lo and behold, a one-dimensional document. You could not move anything on it. There were no layers. There was one link, one layer. Nothing moved. Nothing could be altered. Nothing could be changed. Then we took that same document and we ran it through OCR testing and compression testing, and we got links and we got layers. But we didn't get 9 links and we didn't get 9 layers. We got anywhere from 45 to 250 layers. We ran it through different type of scanning equipment, different copiers, got the same results. The other thing that became extremely apparent to us was that the register stamp and the date stamp could be moved completely off the document, and they would leave a white halo background. That struck me, because in the document that we printed out, you had a marriage between the black font ink and the green safety paper. There was no separating this. This, though, left a white halo, almost like a ghosting of the information on the stamp. Further analysis showed us that the register stamp and the date stamp were in fact imported to the document from an unknown source document. They were actually 90-degree rotated. They were brought over to the document. They were placed on the document. When we first looked at it, we thought, okay, they took this and they placed it onto the safety paper.
So you saw the rotation?
The rotation. And it's on different layers. Each one of these things have their own separate layer.
Through the history palette of the software document?
Yes, its own separate layer. They're separate little entities residing on the document. We first thought, okay, they just took it and they laid it on the document. Although we weren't able to produce the halo effect or the white ghosting effect. Further investigation revealed to us that what they actually did is they worked with almost like a white palette, or a white sheet of paper, if you will, did all the printing work, put the stamp on it, put the register stamp, the date stamps, and some other date stamps on it, and then what they did is, by computer generation, replicated green safety paper and applied it last to the document, filling in all the white background. When you take it to that step, what happens is the green safety paper replicated background by computer generation cannot fill in black font. It fills in blank white spaces, doesn't touch any other character. Hence, when you move the document, you get the outline of what was already there. That, to us, was enough to say the document is 100% manufactured, has been manipulated, but worse than that, the register stamp and the date stamp have no legal authority certifying this document to be anything. It is our position the document has no legal authority and therefore is not a representation of an accurate certificate of live birth from Hawaii or any other state.
Tell me about a little bit about the registrar part of the stamp. It says abstract on it.
It does, and that's kind of shocking to us too, because an abstract, it's a copy of or a variation of. The fact, though, that what they claim is that this is an exact facsimile, a reproduction by photocopying of his birth certificate, the word abstract no longer applies. It either is a copy or it's not. Very simple. So abstract doesn't apply in this. They are certifying that this is a true copy of his long-form birth certificate, and they authorized it for release, and they validated it by the registrar stamp. We contend that didn't happen. We contend that this document was never even a paper document, that this document was birthed inside a computer, built inside a computer, and resided inside a computer until the day they uploaded it to the White House server.
This person, is this a person of interest, possibly, this registrar, Mr. PhD, Mr. Alvin?
Onaka?
Yeah.
He's not a person of interest, but to date he has never come forth and said that he personally certified the document.
You made tell us a little bit about segues that your team has made to, follow up on different leads outside of, Arizona, for instance.
What transpired is, and we were accused of, especially I believe it was by the Attorney General of Hawaii, that said that we never reached out to talk to him, and that is 100% true. The reason being, in the beginning, before we decided to alert the sheriff that we believed we had a forgery, this was nothing more than inquisition. We were inquiring what happened here. Now that we had what we had and we presented it to the sheriff, it's now turned into a full-fledged law enforcement investigation. Now the steps to contact various agencies and request for help happens from this point under that authority. To do it before that would have had zero consequence. We would have gotten nothing out of it.
Okay. Now tell us, we're going into, it's a new area for a lot of people, and it's really digital forensics.
Yes.
Okay. This is a traditional law enforcement. You're dealing with physical, things that you can touch, feel, you can test with chemicals. Tell us a little bit about your approach and how you feel about this new area, which is digital forensics, which you're engaged in.
What I've learned is people younger than me are a lot better at this than I am. They understand this to a T. This is extremely complicated information. To put one of these together, you can't just be a quote, novice. Even though I believe this was poorly done, you cannot be a novice. You have to have an in-depth understanding of the technical aspects of the software and what happens here. People that work with this stuff for a living, graphic experts. What I learned, I didn't know this when it happened, when this document was produced, within 30 minutes, graphic designers were all questioning its authenticity. It's because they worked with the software. Digital forensics is a science unto itself, but we also live in a very scary time. You cannot rely on your eyes anymore to believe what you see.
Good point. Okay, I'm just going to move down a little bit. Now, is there a hard copy of Obama's birth certificate available for you to look at? Are you guys in the process of, sequestering it? Or
To my understanding, if there is a hard copy document, no one other than select individuals from the state of Hawaii profess to have seen it. The state of Hawaii has some very stringent laws regarding vital statistics. And the only way that we would have an ability to see it would be to go to that state and request through court order the ability to see it. And even if we were granted permission to see it by a court, even by directive, the Department of Health in Hawaii could maintain the position of retaining the privilege not to produce it. And that's happened in some other court cases and unrelated incidents of other birth certificates where they just refused to produce the document. As far as our position, a hard copy paper document is not something we want to see. I can make this into a hard copy. What the public has to understand is this becomes a hard copy at the press of a print button.
The short form birth certificate released in 2008 was uploaded to Obama's website. You familiar with that, and what are your thoughts?
I'm familiar with it. We did not do any extensive research on it. I do understand, though, at some point in time, other birth certificates were forged and actually uploaded. There's some speculation out there that a forged document by someone confessing to forge the document actually provided it to the White House. We haven't followed that up. Our purview right now is just to look at this long-form birth certificate because it is what the White House has put up on their website, and the President himself pointing to is saying, this is proof positive of my birth.
You as a law enforcement deputized or professional, whatever, in your position as a law enforcement agent, working for the people, at what point, where would you stand now if you seems to be a forged document, right?
Yes.
So the next step is where would you go from there? In theory, where could you go if this was a crime?
If this was a crime anywhere that's in my jurisdiction?
I didn't do my selective
Sure.
service, for instance.
If this were in my jurisdiction, obviously you want to find the individuals responsible for it. You would start the very last person that handles